everybody. Welcome to our kickoff Easter celebration episode of our 2024 series of What'd He Say? The podcast where we try to figure out what Danny or whoever gets to teach that week is saying because we want to know what the Lord is saying. So, I'm Jen. I'm the church life minister here at Western Hills. My co-host is
Tara, chill.
Hey,
And
Tara.
yeah. Hi.
She's one of our awesome members here. We like her. Super proud of her. Any good idea you see on social media, she probably told us how to do it. 'Cause otherwise it would just be up to me. Any bad ideas? That's probably me. That was probably me trying. But like I said, we're trying to figure out what Danny was saying on Palm Sunday, one of the Sundays we were talking about. He was out of town because he gets to have a family. So Dave and I got to talk that week. But we're trying to figure out what the Lord is teaching us, who he is and what's going on. And we're to do that, we're going to play our silly little game called Same or Different, where we each bring 2 points from each of the weeks and we talk about whether our thoughts are the same or if they're different. Can't be right, can't be wrong. It just helps us to talk about it. So our first Sunday this week was Palm Sunday. That was the 24th, I think, of March. Point one, what you got?
Do I say same or different now?
Well, how do you know?
Or
You don't know
just
if it's the
go?
same or different as mine,
I thought we were
right?
gonna guess.
Oh, I like that better. Let's do that. Okay. What do you think it's going to be?
Um, for Palm Sunday, I think maybe same.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see, I guess.
All right.
Um, I really got a lot out of um God only wants what is freely given. And what was you're just leaving out your fabulous sermon.
Thank you.
Um, that was so good and always is every time you talk. But yeah, the freely given aspect of it has always been really important to me. And it's something that's really guided me when I'm talking to people who aren't Christians, but they have questions. Um, and it's that concept of like, it's a choice. If like an all-powerful God could make us do whatever he wants and has given us enough that he deserves that level of obedience, but that's not the point. Like the point is for you of your own free will, beautiful gift in and of itself, that you would choose to follow. And there's so many things when I'm studying the Bible that I think are so applicable beyond just your faith journey as well, because like I feel like there's a lot of tension on various topics where people are like, well, don't tell me what to do. And it's like, well, that's not tell you what to do. We would like for you to freely choose to do this thing that would be good for people.
Yeah.
um I just think that's such a powerful point, and I think it's one that gets overlooked a lot.
Yeah. I liked that one too. It was actually different than my point one, but I really liked that one. I actually I was listening to a podcast of a sermon the other day and the guy was like, people ask me, do I have to quit smoking pot? Do I have to quit doing this behavior before I come to Jesus? And
Yeah.
he's like, surprised. The answer is no, not before you come. Jesus might tell you to, Jesus is going to deal with you about that. And if he wants you to stop it, he's going to ask you that,
Yeah.
but you don't have to do that before you come. No, that's a huge point. My first one was I got to talk about this in one of the devos for 24 days to Easter too, but that everything God gives is contagious. When he gives us honor, he gives it to us to live out in a way that should make it contagious, that should spread it to other people.
Yeah.
So,
Some people are so good at that.
yeah. Yeah, we have some great folks here at Western Hills. I talk to them and I'm like, oh, you're oxygen to me. Just
Yeah.
talking, just this life that they spread. It's awesome. So I like that point. In the Devo, I got to say that beauty is contagious, not rare. Whatever that means to you, beauty can mean many different things, but
Right.
beauty in a face, smiles, they're contagious. All of these things that God gives are contagious. So that was my point one. I loved yours though. Very good. Not only because it was complimentary to me, but also a second one. All right. So I'll do point two first. I'm going to go with different because we thought that one was going to be the same and it wasn't. So I'm going to guess different. And my point two on this one was I'm just always fascinated by this because it's so boots on the ground is Dave mentioned the revolution that the Christians of the time thought was coming was a literal earthly kingdom,
Yeah.
and it just isn't. And so the what I pulled up from that was that our saving can feel like at first disappointment. Like your first reaction to your being saved
Oh,
disappointment, which I think fits beautifully with what you pulled out of the first one, because we have to let people have their reactions and it
yeah.
has to be freely given. And if you have an emotional journey to go through with that, okay, that's okay.
Yeah. Ooh,
So was
that's a
yours
good
the same
one.
or different?
No, different. Mine actually came from Lawrence talking about the passage that he was reading with the coming down on the cult. And
Mm,
Lawrence, for the viewers, if you're not familiar, works with animals and lives in a rural area and always has. So he comes up and he says, Jesus comes in on a cult that's never been ridden. Like, if you haven't worked with animals, you probably don't get that that in and of itself is quite
a
the
miracle.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Dave was standing there when Lawrence came up and said that to both of us, and he was like, now like he literally had just written a sermon on the passage, and then he's like, now I want to go read the passage again. What other miracles are in there that I didn't even think about because I don't have the frame of reference for them? And that clicked with me for a couple of different reasons, but one, like, obviously the applicable, like, how many things does God do for us every day that are miracles and we don't have the vision to know?
Yeah.
Um, but also that concept of like different people's faith journeys, different callings, different skills, different fruits, like all the things that, like, yeah, that miracle wasn't for you to see. That was for somebody else to see and marvel at and get something from. Um, just the importance of like all the different perspectives,
Yeah.
catching different things about the Bible and the work.
Yeah. C.S. Lewis, I think it was him or somebody, that caliber, someone like, oh, you quote them and you sound super smart. So I get to
Yeah.
sound super smart. But they had a group of friends, like three or four guys that were super close, and then one of them passed away. And he wrote that he thought he was only going to lose that friend, but that over getting um hanging out with the other friends without that friend, he realized he lost the parts of his other friends that friend brought out.
Oh,
And he was using that to talk about just
it's
that
beautiful.
we have God is so big, we need a community to even almost understand him almost. So that's a
Yeah.
beautiful example
Even
of
a
that.
little bit.
We need these other people to be like, hey, I have this piece, check this out.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that certainly never would have occurred to me.
Right, same. I just thought
I,
what that I almost thought it was easier that, it was a baby like donkey.
yeah, there's a little dog who.
Yeah, it shows what I know about donkey.
And the misunderstanding of the message too, because I always saw that as like a purity thing. Like he needed to
Yeah,
ride an animal that nobody else had touched. And that
yeah.
may or may not have been part of it, but it's really this aspect of like, it's mine.
hmm
Like I
hmm
anyway.
Yeah. No, I like it. I like it. All right, so that was Palm Sunday. It is on the
Yeah.
website on YouTube. Go to whfamily.org. There's a link if you want to check it out. Our next Sunday to discuss is Easter Sunday. So all right, your turn. Point one.
I'm gonna go different and trying to decide which one I want to be point one. Uh I gotta go with this one because this is everything to me. Like to hear him talk about this was like, why can't I get this part? Um, the well done, thy good and faithful servant. When you look at what Jesus did while he was here and think like, and this is gonna sound judgmental, and I don't mean it that way, like could have done more while he was here, but did exactly what God asked him to do. And it's the most amazing work anybody ever did. Saved every soul that wanted to be saved, and we don't even know what that means. Like, but there could have hypothetically like cured all the sick, right? Could have, and that wasn't the way. The way was to do the task that God gave him specifically to do, which was a smaller subset of things that could be done.
Mm-hmm.
And um I just have such a problem with like I'm not doing enough. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. I should sell all my stuff and go on a mission trip. I should, and
Mm-hmm.
to look on Easter Sunday in particular at that concept of the well done, thy good and faithful servant from Jesus, of he emptied himself. Danny talked a lot about the emptying of self, not just of like his own agenda, but he also emptied himself of what would have been a yearning to maybe be like, I could just real quick, I could just
Yeah.
real,
Those
and like, nope,
little
this is my,
things.
you know,
Yeah. The things the devil offered him in the desert
yeah,
were offered for a reason. Like the devil is skilled at tempting, right? What they, because the devil isn't a personal name. It's a title that we
yeah,
have turned into a personal name. And it just means the accuser or sometimes the tempter. And he offered him the kingdoms of the world because that's what Jesus wants.
yeah.
So yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Yeah. No,
Um,
that's one of the ones that we got to deal with, I think, for a good long time. Christians.
I just can't ever, but I see specifically having talked about it on Easter Sunday, this like it's reasoning among yourself is what it is. And maybe you should be doing more, or maybe you should be doing something different. But like if you're earnest in your prayer and your guidance, like you have a job and that job doesn't necessarily encompass everything you're capable of doing. Like
Right.
there's
Right.
a plan. And I mean, part of you's like, well, if Jesus had done some more miraculous things, he would maybe have, like, maybe more people would have been converted. Maybe more people would have been sold because it would have been hard to ignore. But then you go back to the freely given
Mm-hmm.
aspect of it and the learning aspect of it. Like, what do we get to take away from Jesus's life if he did this vast number of incredible things?
Yeah.
We're like, well, cool. If I was God, I'd do that too. Like,
Yeah.
the the
Yeah.
humbleness of his life is more powerful for us to learn from.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. This is going to play interesting off my one because it is definitely different, but I wouldn't say it's not related at all. And I'm going to say it and you can just laugh at it's kind of almost the opposite, but they don't disagree. Okay. So I wrote that ambition is good question mark. Because I think ambition is one of those things that Christians struggle with because we're like, oh, we should be humble, so we should like almost, and that almost plays out like embrace failure. And you're like, well, failure is not bad. You can learn from that. But the goal of the church, right, is God's goal. It's to change hearts and lives, to save the world.
right.
That's a big goal. So I landed on ambition is good. It's good to have ambition. Two caveats that I think are different though from the world's definition of ambition. And one is the world tends to have an individual, at least our Western world has an individual view of ambition. Like, I want something great for me because why? Because I'm worth it, because
Yeah.
I deserve it. And we want big things. We're part of big things because the Lord is worth it, because
Mhm.
because the Lord is powerful enough, all that. And second, that when we want to do something great, we embrace the service, we embrace the yucky jobs, we embrace the going small to get large, the downside up that Danny was kind of talking about,
Yeah.
that to serve. Jesus didn't, he came to do the biggest thing ever done, and he did it by serving. He came to serve.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit that thing that you're thinking about, like, okay, well, should I be doing more? What should my ambition be? And
Yeah.
how do I know when I've met that ambition? And at the same time, the job is so big and we're not going to be the ones to do it. So we're not going to see it done. So there
Yeah.
is a level of of succeeding in the midst of what the world might consider failure. So it's one of the I was saying it's one of those ideas we have to chew on, I think, our whole Christian life to really kind of
Absolutely.
figure out how that plays out. That's definitely a good one.
You get to see that a lot in teaching. That was something I loved about teaching when I was doing it was like you spend all this time crafting your lesson and you have these very careful plans for how the year's going to go and these interactions with students that you're like, man, that went well. And then some kid will come to you 4 years later and be like, this thing you don't remember doing, that's the thing that mattered to me. And this is what I'm doing now. And you're like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well, there's
I
this
don't think you always get to see in other professions the like fruits of of course your job is your job and you get to see that, but like of trying to be a Christian, of trying to be a good person. And not that I was ever evangelizing my students, but I was giving them care and love and support and the way that I thought God would want me to. And kids are just really good about coming back to you and being like, hey, that helped in the way that like maybe your adult boss isn't.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's one of the reasons why sometimes it looks like failure because we don't really understand. If we can't look at someone's heart and know what they actually need to help them, we just can kind of scattershot. Like maybe you
Right.
need this, and it's the Lord that's working it all together for good. He's the one that knows what they actually need. I think there's I can't. I'm not cool enough to tell you where in the Bible, but if you Google it, somewhere in the Bible, Jesus mentions someone's like, "Why don't you do this great miracle?" And he's like, "I would, but I've already done a bunch, and that's not. No, y'all are still not convinced. Like that's not the thing that's going to do it.
Yeah, that's not it.
That's not what your human heart actually needs."
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's part of it. That's part of it. I think is learning more. His teaching about what we are, who we are, how we work, and just trusting him to work it for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So that was point one. Your turn, right? Was it your turn? It's my turn. No, it's your turn.
Your
Point two. Which is
point
no.
two.
Yeah,
I don't know.
me neither.
Um, actually, my point two is the same as the thing you just said, which is the miracles, um, not not doing it. Like,
Yeah,
and they had tried that already, and not just Jesus had tried that already. Like, you're eating manna in the desert in the Old Testament, and you're still not getting it. You're, like
yeah,
miracle after miracle after miracle after miracle. And people are like, yeah, I know God did a lot of miracles, but I don't really like Moses personally on a personal level. So I'm going to turn away. Um, and I was thinking about that when Danny was talking about the elephant. They're
Mhm.
feeling the elephant and trying to, and that's like the gospel's trying to describe Jesus. Like, we're not getting it. And they thought, like you said, like they were looking for an earthly kingdom. They were looking for a warrior. They were looking for so many things. And when you're having to adjust to, like, not only is this not what I thought it was, I'm blindfolded and I've never seen an elephant before. And like, I don't know what I'm getting. I know I'm not getting what I thought I was. And
Yeah,
now, because I know I'm not getting what I thought I was, I know I'm not smart enough to know what it is I'm getting. I did
right.
like,
Which is why we need to go back to very point one, which is why we need to be compassionate and understand that these things have to be freely given and that there might be a journey that's uncomfortable for us for someone else to even get to where that's because,
right.
yeah, expectations get shattered. All right. Okay. My point two, oh, was different than that. I said that if the world doesn't associate following Jesus with joy and freedom, that's our fault
Oh, yes.
because we should be people of joy
Yeah.
and freedom,
Yeah.
not a list of you can't do that, I can't do that, no, no, no. And I
Yeah.
feel like to the world we got some bad PR going for the Lord. Um,
And even when there's not bad PR, there's like this stiffness, like
yes,
the freedom is not there
yeah,
for. in a lot of people's minds when they think of church and people who go to church, like this box.
Yeah. Yeah. A very small amount of appropriate behavior, dress, language, all of these things. And that's just not true. We have so much to be happy about. We didn't give things up for an eternal glory. We got things and eternal glory.
Yeah.
And that's how we should behave and live.
I love that one. I love that. I always thought Kelly's so good at that. Like she'll roll up to church in like jeans and a funny t-shirt and tennis shoes and be like, I'm here and you're glad I'm here. So cool.
Yeah, she has a cool vibe. Definitely. Definitely. She's a great example of that.
We all want to be here and nobody cares what I'm wearing. Let's do church.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Because we have so much to be happy about. All right. Well, that was our little game. Same or different. Couple points from Palm Sunday and Easter Sunday. Catch us back here in 2 weeks. We'll talk about the next 2 Sundays. Tara and I, same thing. You can see if your points were the same or if they were different. Otherwise, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. I'm going to close in prayer specifically for us Western Hillers as we seek to know the Lord, and for Danny and the leadership team as they try to help us with that. So if you'll pray with me. Dear Lord, thank you so much for these Sundays that we got to be together with an amazing family that you've put together and with great teaching that's trying to get us to you. Please open our eyes, open our hearts and our minds. Help us to see you, to become more like you. And please bless the leadership at Western Hills and Danny as he's preparing his lessons so that we can be for you, to your people, what you want. Please bless us and make us like you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Well, thanks, everybody. Until next time.